So my name is Jasey. I'm the owner of Jasey Capital Group. We're hard money lenders. I have the unenviable job of following the great and prestigious Glenn Gallucci. Glenn's an amazing guy. He's a good friend of mine. We do a holiday party. Oh, he's still in here. I was saying that. I didn't even know you were in here.
Okay, how much was
This is how I talk about you when you're not here.
I'm sorry, we'll talk outside.
All right, see you, buddy. But just to get started, I got into real estate maybe like 5 years ago. I'm going to talk a little bit more about my story. But I've been lucky enough to find really good mentors along the way. And one of the things that's always kind of surprised me about real estate is how giving people are with information. And so some of the first people that I met and became friends with were guys like Glenn Gallucci, guys like Nick Tang, who's putting on this event today. And these are people that never asked for anything in return and have still never asked for anything. So I think if you're the kind of person that's, if you're shy about asking for help, just know that there's a lot of people out there who have had their lives changed through real estate and they want to pay that forward. They want to talk to you about it, they're excited about it. And so those people are out there and definitely don't shy away from that. Ask people their story. So my talk is called Lessons from a Lender. I was talking to Nick, my wife and I were down in Mexico probably a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. My best friend was getting married. And so it's probably around 11 o'clock, midnight, we're having a party. That's usually when I talk to Nick, he's a night owl. And going back and forth with him, my Spanish is not the best, so I was like, let me get some work done. And so I'm talking to Nick, and he's like, what do you want to talk about the thing? And I said, well, it sounds like there's about 100 million lenders there, so I don't think everybody needs to hear me talk about how hard money works, although I will touch upon it. But what I wanted to talk to you guys about today is a little bit about what I've seen in my travels through real estate. We do a bunch of real estate networking, all the people I've met, and just kind of common themes of success that I've seen. And so I always try to pass this on to new investors. And just quick show of hands, who's new here? Okay, great. All right. If you guys are all experienced, then I throw my whole thing out. But yeah, so this is when I meet new investors, I always try to kind of impart some of this wisdom just that I've seen traveling through real estate and what seems to work. So just to get started, I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about myself. So I'm a serial entrepreneur. I started my first company when I was in high school. Lost a bunch of my parents' money, but learned a lot. And then from there, I went to college, and I realized there weren't a lot of good wall posters for college kids. I got into that business, did that for about 4 years. This was actually the #1 selling poster in America. It's always awesome seeing my parents have to brag about that. So I did that for a while. Didn't really work out, partly because of the economy, partly because of mistakes we made. Maybe got involved with some of the wrong people. But anyway, I came back home, went to business school, and then I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to do something entrepreneurial. And I had a friend that had a title insurance company, and so I went to go work for him. I realized quickly I didn't really like title insurance, but along the way I met some hard money lenders. It seemed more interesting, and so I went to go to work with them, and I worked there for a bit, more interesting. Didn't really love the team I was with though. Switched to another lender, better, but kind of had the same feeling. Started to realize that maybe I was the problem, and decided to go on my own. And so my wife and I, this is my wife Marielle right over here.
Hi.
And so Marielle and I, when we got started in real estate, we started a bunch of real estate networking events as a way to kind of meet people. And so then we brokered hard money loans for a couple of years. And so then about 6 months ago, we set up our own shop, and we started doing the lending ourselves, which has been just an amazing experience. And so here's our team. So that's obviously me, the pretty one. And then there's Marielle. This is Veronique. She's our processor. And then Stacey. She does sales and marketing for us. And so Marielle obviously helps out with the marketing and the events and all that sort of thing. So our networking events. I'm going to go through like a few shameless plugs and then I'll get into what I'm actually going to talk about. So our networking events. So we started off with our first networking event. It was in South Orange, and then we kind of bounced back and forth between South Orange and West Orange. But if you haven't been to our event, it's typically the first Wednesday of every month. There's usually about 100 to 150 people there. It's just 3 hours of open networking. There's no education. It's just a chance to go and meet other real estate people. I love introducing people also, so if you come to the event and say, hey Kyle, I'm looking for this or that, I'm happy to point you in the right direction if I can. A cool thing I think that we do at our events is we share the contact information of everyone who attends after the event. So when there's 150 people there, it's impossible to meet everyone, but after the event, like 3 to 5 days later, you'll get a list of everyone that was there and what they do and their phone number and where they operate, and I really encourage people to reach out. So we also do a similar size event in Jersey City. This past Thursday we were down in Asbury Park, great group of people. Upcoming Monday we're in Manhattan, and then the last Tuesday of the month we're in Brooklyn. So this is buyersbytown.com. This is something that Marielle and I started like 6 to 8 months ago. Marielle built the site. And what it is basically is a lot of times people would call me and they say, hey Kyle, do you know of anybody who buys in West Milford? And I'm like, I couldn't even tell you what county that's in. But, if there were a website where you could just go and see where real estate investors invest, then that would solve a lot of that problem. So Marielle and I talked about it, we had the idea for a while, and we eventually put this site up. So wherever you're looking to buy, you're more than welcome to go on our site and just, sign up for your company, put your phone number on there, how many projects you've done, if you've done any projects. You can sign up for as many towns as you want. It's just a free site, it's a free resource, until we can start charging for it. So that's pretty much that. If you're a realtor, it's a great place to find buyers. So to touch upon the hard money lending. So in my mind, there's two types of lenders. So a lot of lenders are becoming the same. In my mind, there's two types of lenders. There's what I call standard lenders, and then there's what I call boutique lenders. Standard lenders generally have better rates and maybe more capital at their disposal. You don't typically have to worry about them running out of money because they're usually selling their loans. Boutique lenders tend to lend more money, and they tend to have more flexible terms. Both are great. Our individual program is more of a standard program. We'll do 80 and 90% of purchase, 100% of rehab. We have some flexibility, but the boutique guys are really good too. We work with a lot of those guys. There's something we can't do ourselves. We're not about programming out, partnering with other lenders. We do that all the time. And we do stuff with Glenn's company a lot as well. A good lender can be a new investor's best friend. And the reason why I say that is because I get I get why people would be apprehensive about the hard money lender, the high rates, and all that stuff. But on the flip side of that, most lenders don't want to do a bad deal, and they don't want to take the property back. So we're going to underwrite it at least as hard as you are, probably even more so. So as much as you don't want to do a bad deal, we really don't want to do a bad deal. So I say no all day long, lenders say no all day long. So just know, even though it can be a little bit scary, it is a second set of eyes. And generally speaking, lenders really, really don't want to take a property back or see you fail. So it's another way to think about it. With lenders, what I always say is the most important thing, more so than rates or points or whatever, is reliability. So whoever you're going to work with, make sure they're reliable. Ask other people about them, do your due diligence, because the nature of this business is that it moves very quickly. And if you choose the wrong lender and you're a week into the process, most times if it's not working out, you're screwed. And there are lenders out there that will change terms and do stuff like that at the last minute because they know they've got you, which is crazy because it's a repeat business kind of business, but people do it. Okay, I talked a little bit about that. Okay. Real quick, so what I love about my job. What I really like about my job is that I work with entrepreneurs. I consider myself to be an entrepreneur, and it's what I'm passionate about. I don't like working for people. probably most of the people in this room don't like working for people, so if I can help you get closer to that goal, I'm all in. I also like economic impact of what we do. I think that real estate investors don't get enough credit, frankly. I think maybe because we're not organized or whatever it is, but think about all the money that we're all pumping into these local economies, how we're changing neighborhoods. I think it's a noble thing to do. There's lots of reasons to do it, but I think the impact of it is very cool. Meeting great people. I've met a million great people doing this. It's amazing. I meet people every single month. There are 5 networking events. It's the best. All right, so my goals today. I want to help you guys first figure out if real estate is right for you. Because I feel like not enough people talk about that, and it's an extremely important question before you start going down the road of incurring large amounts of debt and that sort of thing. So it's something to think about. And then also, I want to help you maximize your likelihood of success. So I want to talk to you guys about the people I've seen and best practices, what's worked, and what could work well for you. Is real estate right for you? The best thing about real estate, so this is one of the things I always say, the best thing about real estate is that there's no barrier to entry. Like, you guys can all just sign up for this thing and pay whatever Nick's charging for this and come out and learn about real estate for a day, right? So that's the best thing. There's no barrier to entry. Anybody can just wake up in the morning and decide that they're a real estate investor. The worst thing about real estate is that there's no barrier to entry. And you never know who you're dealing with. Some people talk really well, and you gotta be careful, and you gotta really look out for yourself. Do you love real estate, or do you say, okay. So, yes, do you love real estate, or do you just hate your day job? I meet a lot of people at these events and stuff like this, and they're kind of like, you can tell that they're searching for something, but it's not necessarily real estate. So before you spend any substantial amount of money on this, you need to figure out if this is really what you want to be doing. Because, TV makes it look very romantic, but the reality of this job is you're going to spend most of your time going through beat-up houses and going back and forth with people on closings and this and that. Like, if you love it, it all makes sense and it's great and you're happy to do it. But if you don't love it, then it's going to be a lot. So kind of tying off of that or adding to that, there's no shortcut to success. And I guess the way that I put this is, no matter what somebody tells you about, they've got this great program or they've got something or whatever they're trying to sell you, at the end of the day, you have to put the time in. It's like anything else. It oftentimes takes 6 months to a year and a half to find your first deal. If you're not willing to work at this diligently for the next 6 months to the next year and a half, then it's probably not for you. And I try to always tell people that, but also as a way of encouraging you in that, if you've been at this for a year and you still haven't found a place and you've been working hard at it, it's not necessarily that you're doing anything wrong. It just takes time. It's like anything else. You have to pay your dues, you have to get better at it, and one of the things I think that's so difficult is it's oftentimes hard to know if you're making, if you're making success or not. Are your efforts improving? Are you getting closer to your goal? And the problem is that you only really reach your goal when you get a deal. But there's so much that you're doing along the way that you might not be taking note of. Like, you're building your network, you have more people sending you deals, you're building relationships. That wholesaler is getting closer to taking a chance on you and sending you a deal, or that top realtor that works with investors, they're getting to like you a little bit better, or you're getting to understand the market a little bit better. You're getting closer to finding a deal on the MLS. So it's just, I think a lot of people get frustrated because it's just like, when's it going to happen? When's the deal going to happen? But it's like, you got to stop for a second and take stock of, am I seeing deals more often? Are there more opportunities coming across my desk? Am I building relationships? And just know that, it takes time and you're not alone. Manage your expectations. So along the same lines, basically, just know that this is a difficult business. It's going to take time, and know going in, this is not going to happen overnight. you know, you might have gone to some, look, you'll go to something like this today, people will have you all excited, you're clapping, you're like, I've got this. And then you're gonna go back into the real world, and there's a lot of projection out there, you know? So you just gotta be even keeled, you gotta be like, look, I've decided that I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do a deal, and I'm gonna wait for a good one, and that's it. Like, I've made up my mind, I'm going for it. It's hard out there for a newbie. So, one of the things I've noticed, and again, I'm not really a real estate investor, I've done a couple deals, not even that successfully, but I see a lot, and I'm happy to share. Like, I want everyone to do well. So, every town has a hierarchy, and new investors are at the bottom of it. And so, the reason why, and I think it's helpful to talk about this kind of stuff so you don't take it personally. You can be the greatest person on earth, you can be, you know, just the nicest guy or gal, but at the end of the day, like let's say if I'm a realtor, right? If I'm a realtor and I have a deal, and, you know, you're a brand new real estate investor, and he does 10 projects a year in Hasbrook Heights, right? If I have a deal, I only make money if someone closes on us. So between the two of you guys, I'm going with him 10 times out of 10 because, you know, I think I said it on there, if you don't close, I don't eat, you know? So like, most people in real estate are strictly commission based. Like, we're only getting paid if this stuff, you know, closes. And so that's for me too. Sometimes people will send me deals, and if I have what I think is a good deal and they're looking for a real estate investor, I'm gonna send it to the guy who I know will close and who I know will fund with me. That's just it, you know, it just makes sense. And so, that's not a 100% rule. So, one of the things about that is you can build relationships with people, you know, and you can get people to take a chance on you. And I've seen it work where people have said, hey, take a chance on me, and people have said, okay, which is kind of crazy, but it works, you know? And so, it is such a relationship business in that way, but don't get discouraged. And what I always tell people is after you close your first deal, it's like the whole real estate universe opens up. Partly probably because you're more confident, but it's like you go from the bottom of everyone's list to the top of everyone's list. It's like it sends out a signal. Every good deal that you see has probably been passed on. So something to keep in mind, if you find a really great deal, be skeptical of it. Because the way real estate works, just like I was saying, is if I'm a realtor, I'm going to go to the person that closes the most deals, then I'm going to go to the second most, and then down the line, and maybe I'll call you. So if I get desperate and I call you, know that a lot of people have passed on this deal, and just be aware of that. It doesn't mean it's not a good deal for you. There's, you know, a lot of these guys, you know, once they start doing a bunch of projects, you know, their attitude changes. And then they say, hey, if I can't make $100,000 on a deal, I'm not interested. But like, you know, if I'm a new investor, if I can make $30,000 to $50,000 on a deal and learn, I'm happy. It's pretty good, you know? So it doesn't mean it doesn't make sense, but just know and just be wary of that. And occasionally, that good deal does come along. That's 1 out of 100. Ian. Ian's a good friend of mine, by the way, and he was also our attorney and just a gentleman guy. Okay. Real estate is an ocean of opportunity, but it's also full of sharks. As in all things, you have to be careful. Real estate attracts a lot of really great people who just want to do the right thing and do good business and want to have, you know, their own business and their own thing. But it also attracts people who are opportunistic and who aren't going to do the right thing, you know. And they're everywhere. They're here today, you know. Maybe in this room, I don't know. But you have to be really, really careful who you deal with. And like, I don't want to sound all doom and gloom about that, but I see it all day long, you know. And oftentimes the shades are gray. It's hard to say who's right, who's wrong, but you really have to protect yourself. You have to be careful who you get involved with, especially when you're first starting out. Like, you know, I know someone, she first started out and she got involved with the wrong people, and it drove her right out of business, which was really sad because she was a really, really promising real estate investor, and she's just like, I'm out, this is crazy. So Google everyone. Google everybody. Everybody you meet. Like, I am the king of Googling people. Like, I'll Google you while we're on the phone. I'll be like, what is that? You were an attorney, but you're not doing that anymore? That sounds kind of sketchy. Law school's 3 years and really expensive. And I'm like, oh, you got indicted, huh? So I'm just like, yeah, I have like a sixth sense for it. But you get that. You'll develop that too as you get to talk to more people. But Google everybody. Reputation is everything. You are your brand. You know, I don't know what you guys do in your everyday lives, but if you go and you work for JP Morgan, then you have the JP Morgan name behind you. You tell people, oh, I work for JP Morgan. And they're like, oh, sure, this person can't be all bad, like JP Morgan hired him. No, I don't trust anyone at JP Morgan. Maybe some other company that you like, you know. But in real estate, it's you. Like, I'm my brand. My wife and I are a brand, you know. Now we have, Stacey and Veronique. Like, that's it. And so people are going to be judging you based on their interactions with you. And if they like you, they'll want to work with you. I mean, I've had a million people say to me, when I first got started, they were like, you know what, Kyle, I have a million lenders I can work with, but you seem like a nice guy, so I want to help you out. I'm like, okay, great. Like, that happens all the time. People will work with you if they like you, if you're trustworthy, or if you add value. So when I first got into real estate, I had a background in doing events. And so one of my clients at the title company, he was also a buddy of mine, he said, he was like, look, I'll give you all my title business, but I need you to help me find money. And so I was like, all right, well, I know how to throw events, and I'm sure that people who have money are looking for people who need money, so maybe I can set up an event. And that's how we came up with Flippers and Funders. And for me, the way I felt coming into real estate, I didn't know anything about real estate, so the way that we set our events up as just pure networking, because most of these events are education, that sort of thing, it would have been ridiculous for me to try to teach people about education, real estate. So instead, we just had an open networking event, and we tried to make it the best open networking event. And my point in all that is that even though I didn't know anything about real estate, I took what I did know, and I found a way to add value to the local real estate community. And then I benefited from that. So everybody in this room has something that you can contribute to the real estate community. You just need to figure out what that is, And if you can add a little something like that, then that's great. If you don't do right by people, word will spread quickly. Real estate is a community. Everybody knows everybody else. Even if you don't go to networking events, you still meet people, you see people at Home Depot, all that. Like, I can tell you who people like working with and who people will absolutely never work with again. Like, anybody that's in this, we all talk, everybody talks, so be very careful, guard your reputation. I mean, do right by people just to do right by people, but if you need a business reason, then there's your business reason to also, do right by people. Become a part of the community, build relationships, add value. That's a little bit repetitive, but I did this very late last night. Find friends and mentors in the business. As I said, I've been really lucky with this. I've met a lot of great people, and that's how you learn, Like, I'm not the type of person that's going to sit down and study real estate, all weekend. So I learned from talking to people, and I learned from finding really great mentors. And those kinds of people are out there. You just have to be open to meeting them and getting to know them and taking them to lunch. And honestly, one of the best things you can do to get into the business is find an experienced investor and say, hey, is there anything I can do to help? I'll work for free. Just I'm trying to learn the business. Very common. All right, 10 minutes left, so I gotta get through this. All right, how to maximize your chances of success. Get approved with a hard money lender. It's not a big deal. Sometimes you have to fill out an application. My company, we don't even make you fill out an application. I just want to have a conversation with you, try to understand what you're looking to do. But when you do that, you can have confidence to walk around knowing that you have the money behind you if you need it, proof of funds, that kind of thing. Start raising investor money immediately. The people that progress most quickly in this business are the ones who figure out from day one how to raise private money. When I say private money, I'm talking friends and family, your dentist, whoever it is. Start being that annoying person that talks about real estate all the time if you're not already. And tell people what you're doing, and tell them that you're looking for investments and you're looking for money. And the more you start doing it now, the better you'll get at it, like anything else. But you have to do that. And to be successful, you have to do that. If you want to be really successful, you definitely have to do that. Those are the people that grow the fastest. Learn how to analyze a deal. That's a big one. Check out our website, JaseyCapitalGroup.com. We talk about how we analyze deals. Any Google search can help you figure that out. Focus. Do one thing well. I had this problem getting into real estate, especially because of the groups. And I knew a million people, and people were just constantly like, hey, you should do this, you should do that. Did you know that you can control who your power supplier is? It's like, I didn't know that. And you're spending all this time on all these other things. Pick what you're going to do and focus on that. You're going to find a million distractions in this business, and if you're easily distracted as I am, that's trouble. So, my business really started taking off when I got a coach, Jason Dukes, if he's here. But when I got my coach, Jason Dukes, and he helped me just get rid of all the distractions, just focus on one thing, that's the difference. But once I did that, I saw what a problem it is for so many people in this business. Pick a small area to start with. I can't tell you how often people come to my events and they'll say, I'll do anything in North Jersey. And I'm like, that's crazy. North Jersey is like 200 towns. It's nuts. You're never going to get to know any of those towns very well. You're way better off picking one town. Pick one town, maybe a town that you know a little bit about or whatever. Pick one town and get to know it. Get to know all the realtors there, the wholesalers, real estate investors. Get to know everything about it. Get to the point where you can recognize an anomaly on the MLS and you can be that person that actually finds deals on the MLS. Go super deep with one town. Give it 6 months. If it's not working, expand out to 3 towns. First deal is the toughest. It just is. You're learning the business. It's going to take time. I've kind of already hit on this, but don't get discouraged. I really try to tell people, don't get discouraged. It just takes time. Don't let a near miss break you. This is really important. And I realized a couple years into this that I need to start telling people this. One thing that I see all the time is it's like you're climbing the mountain, you're climbing the mountain, you're climbing the mountain. You think you found the deal, you're at the top, right? And you're excited. You're like, Kyle, this is the one. And I've been writing proof of funds for a year. So I'm like, this is the one. and then we go, and it doesn't appraise. And it's far enough off from the appraisal that it's not the one. And I can't tell you how many people that breaks. People are just like they're crushed. Because you've been at it for a year and a half. It breaks your heart, breaks my heart. It's so sad. And in those moments, I'm like, you gotta keep going. But then there's it's hard to even care at that point. So that's why I started telling people from the get-go, there's a very good chance you will have a near miss, And you need to know that if you do have that near miss, and when people do that, it is so often, even just within a few weeks, that a better deal comes along, and then we fund that one with the people that stick with it. So it's always darkest before the dawn, And so when you're feeling crushed, just make up your mind that, hey, I set out to do a deal, I'm going to keep going until I hit this, and just know that it's not uncommon. Second deal comes quick. So it's kind of playing off that, but basically what I was saying before about the signal to the real estate community, it's your confidence is up. Don't put all your money into your first deal because the second one won't take nearly as long to find. And again, it depends on how you want to do your business, what you want to do, but I still have not met anybody who gets a second deal that's better than the first, and it's like, oh yeah, I'm glad I spent all my money on the first deal and can't do this one. Don't count other people's money. I'd never heard of this until I got into real estate. Very important. When you're starting out, you're going to do a lot of things where you're doing the legwork, and other people are going to swoop in and partner with you or buy a deal off you or something like that, and they're going to make more money than you. They might make a lot more money than you. Don't count their money. You have no idea what they've been through to get to that point. Just because they might make it look easy doesn't mean it's easy. You don't know what they've been through, and even if you do, it doesn't help you. People hate it when you start, worrying about what they're making. Just be it. Either you're happy with what you're making, or you're not happy with what you're making, and move on. And that's it. In my life was setting goals. I hated setting goals, and until my coach made me start setting goals and harassed me about it, I never did. But then what I realized was like, oh, goals are great because it's like a competition with yourself, and you're determining what you're focusing on. Because if you don't determine what you focus on, you tend to focus on bad things. But instead, you can say, no, I'm going to focus on, making $500,000 this year, doing my first deal, or whatever it is. And that is way more fun to focus on than the negative stuff. Also set lifestyle goals, though. If you're going to do this, if you're going to come into real estate, why wouldn't you, spend a little time thinking about what you want your life to look like? Like my wife and I decided we wanted to go to Mexico every year for a month because we hate the winter. And so this year we went for the second year in a row. As long as I had my cell phone on my computer, I could do my job, and it was just about taking the lead. Comparison is the thief of joy. Nobody is crushing it as hard as they say on social media. I look at that stuff and I get down. I'm like, oh my God, if you're doing what they're doing. Whenever you find, or however you find your way to real estate, just be thankful that you're in the room today. Don't look backwards. You're here now. What are you going to do with it? And don't be too hard on yourself. You're going to make mistakes along the way. Everybody does. Last thing I'll say about the social media thing, it's kind of funny. When my wife and I, when we were down in Mexico, when we were in Holbox, we went to this little island. It's beautiful and it's warm. And on my group chats, all my friends back home were like, I've never felt so cold in my whole life. And I'm like, ooh, that seems rough. So it's freezing here. And one of my friends is a real estate buddy who's doing great. I've known him since he first got started. He's texting me, he's like, oh man, you're doing it right. I'm here in the cold, and I gotta make some changes, and I really envy you. And I'm like, dude, you can do it too. You're a smart guy, figure it out. You can make this happen. And then I go home and check my Facebook, and on there I see same guy is I got 5 closings coming up, I got this and that, and I'm like, man, I should be doing that, I should be closing this. What am I talking about? He was just texting me 5 minutes ago, telling me all the end of my life. So, don't know, stay off social media, try not to let it affect you.